Yet another version of the Army Combat Fitness Test looks like is possibly on the horizon. This one possibly going back to being gender specific, but let's outline some of the details of this potential change. What's up, my friends? U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos here to provide you with some great Army content, and if that is the type of stuff you're into and you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Also enable all notifications. I'll wait for you to do that. In the meantime, we'll talk about this ACFT, and you can multitask and listen and hit that subscribe and that bell and everything. So let's talk about what they're potentially going to be calling ACFT 3.0. We heard about this already from the Sergeant Major of the Army when they did their briefing about the changes to AR 678-1. At the end of the briefing, he kind of hinted that there is a 3.0 in the works as far as some more changes to the ACFT. This comes about as people wanted to do a study, right? Higher up in the Army, right? People at Pentagon or whatever they're kind of level at, they wanted to kind of evaluate, hey, does this new Army Combat Fitness Test discourage females from being able to join? Does it discourage certain other individuals from being able to join because it puts maybe too much stress on them, maybe too much expectation as far as having it gender neutral, having all these other things to where it doesn't matter your age or your gender, this is the standard and you have to pass it. Especially since they were seeing a lot of females struggling with these new changes. Not all females, right? I'm not saying all females are weak or anything like that. I know some of you want to use this as an opportunity to do that, but there are some females. But hell, there's even some men that are struggling in some cases. Just the percentage of people struggling with the new ACFT was higher percentage females. But that's what they wanted to study. They wanted to study, does this discourage certain people from being able to achieve the standards to be able to join or to be able to stay in the Army? The ACFT has already gone through a lot of changes, right? Very initial start of it, right? Changes to how it was scored, changes to how the push-ups were done. They had a 2.0 that added the planking event into it to where now it's, if you couldn't do the leg tucks, then you had the option to do the planking event. Now that brings us to 3.0, right? Some of these studies are starting to come back as far as what they want to do to try out, right? None of this is permanent. 3.0, this idea of 3.0, everything that I'm about to talk about is not what is officially going to happen. This is just what they're talking about and they're probably going to be testing. Also, a main reason for this is they are seeing in the scores that there is a good 100 point on average difference when you have, men to women and everything like that, and you're looking at, the different scores. So it may or may not actually really kind of discourage against females and really kind of hurt females in certain areas. So what are the potential changes to 3.0? Well, one of them being they're probably going to be getting rid of that 3-tier kind of scoring system. You have that scoring system of black, gray, and gold based on your MOS or based on your unit you're in as far as what standards you have to meet. That is probably going to be scrubbed in probably some new scoring system. I didn't see what the possible proposed scoring system is, just that it's possible that that 3-tier scoring system is probably going to go away. There is in some capacity, it sounds like they are going to be going back to gender specific, right? With the APFT, the Army Physical Fitness Test, you did have it to where you have a different standard for men and women at different age groups. Now, they did say that they do still want to keep it age neutral, so age is not going to be factored back into it, but gender might. Mainly with the way they word it, it sounds like maybe only for promotion purposes, maybe for overall standards, I don't really know. It may still be kind of, neutral, but maybe when it comes down to promotion-wise, that's when it kind of has some different factors in there. You probably have to be careful with that because you don't want to inflate the numbers just for females or whatever the case is, but they kind of talk about that a little bit as well. But basically, instead of just, going in front of the board and them seeing down to each event how you scored, it would be more of a percentile. So it kind of evens the playing field for both men and women, but still, definitely factors into you having to do well on the physical fitness test, but no longer kind of, looking negatively on you because, you're in the female category or the male category or whatever the case is. So I'm gonna read a quote from an Army official saying, "To serve in the Army, every soldier will have to meet the same standard. We are not going to artificially inflate the raw score for women, but we have to figure out a way to make it fair to both genders. We need a fair way that accounts for psychological differences." So the idea they're kind of throwing around of things they're going to test is maybe putting it into a percentile rather than, a certain way of showing your raw score. So it's still going to depend on how well you score, but you're going to be placed into a percentile group based on other soldiers in your gender. Those percentiles are like top 1%, top 10%, top 25%, or top 50%. So that means if you are a female soldier and you do really well, you could end up in like the top 1%, the top 10% compared to other females. So if you can do better than most females at the ACFT, then you'll be in that higher percentile, which looks better on you for promotion-wise. Same goes for men. It doesn't necessarily matter as far as your individual scores, more of like how well can you do when compared to other soldiers. It doesn't sound like that's gonna be the case for like the whole entire thing, just mainly talking about promotions. So there's probably going to be a set standard to be able to pass the ACFT, but when it comes time for the promotion board, they're gonna be looking at this percentile rather than your raw scores. So rather than seeing that, hey, Private Joe Snuffy, was able to max the push-ups but barely pass the run or whatever, no, they're gonna see a percentile that, hey, this person was in the top 50%, the top 10%, whatever the case was. So it sounds like the events are still staying the same. They are still going to have it age neutral, but when it comes to promotion purposes, it sounds like they're probably going to have this percentile type of thing. Now, probably for the standard for just passing may still be gender neutral. They haven't really discussed that from what I'm seeing yet. So it may be that, yes, they still have a minimum standard that all soldiers need to pass. As kind of said in that quote before, it sounds like they still are going to have one set standard, male or female. You have to pass this to be able to stay in the Army, to qualify for the Army, or whatever. But then when it comes down to promotions, we're going to put you into a percentile, and it's going to be determined based on your percentile how well you did on the ACFT to maybe help the board decide, if they want to recommend you for promotion, how many, how they want to kind of go about, the promotion kind of scale and everything. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Another factor that is changing into 3.0 is that whole planking event. Previously, you had it where a soldier needed to attempt to do the leg tuck. If they could not do the leg tuck, then they had the opportunity to be able to do the planking event. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I thought I remember seeing that if you did have to do the planking event, you could not score 100%, so you could not get a 100-point kind of thing. You couldn't max the planking event. You could only max it if you were going to do the leg tuck, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. But this change in 3.0 would make it to where it's not necessarily you need to attempt the leg tuck. You will get an option actually to choose which one you want to do. So you don't actually have to attempt the leg tuck anymore. You will just simply either choose. Do you want to do the leg tuck or do you want to do the planking event? And the planking event does have a score between 1 and 100. So making it to where whichever event you do, you could still max it. Like I said, just keep in mind, this is all just potential changes. There is nothing official yet. This is going to require testing. They even stated that this is going to require them to evaluate these changes, try this out, and see if this is what is going to be the new standard for the Army Combat Fitness Test. As of right now, it's still not really a thing until March of 2022. So that may mean that during this time frame, they're going to be doing some testing with certain units, maybe to try it out this way, see how that works out. Probably still require some more testing even into 2022 before it becomes official. So this potentially doesn't even take effect until maybe sometime in 2022, 2023. I don't really know. It's not an official set in stone that, hey, this is the new Army Combat Fitness Test and these are what changes we're gonna do. This is just what they want to test and see if this makes it better. So I know some of you hate change no matter what the change is. Sometimes I feel like it's a change for good and people will still complain about it. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that this is a good thing to test, to try out and see if this is good? Do you think that percentile kind of thing when it comes to promotion is a good kind of way to kind of evaluate things? In my opinion, I think it could be a good thing, right? Especially if you're a female that wants to stand out from the other female soldiers, right? Sometimes females do get flack in the Army. There are still a lot of, soldiers that have that mentality of this is a man's world or whatever the case is, especially like your more old school, soldiers that are in the Army. But maybe this allows them to kind of stand out from the other female soldiers to show that, hey, I'm not weak like some of these other female soldiers that you have seen. I am in great shape and I can stand out above them. So in that way, I think it could be good, right? So you have these females that do bust their ass and are in great physical shape and are not the ones that maybe are the ones in this stereotypical kind of category of failing the ACFT or struggling or whatever. And you have these females that can excel really well and they will shine because of this, because it'll show that, hey, I'm in the top 1% of all females. I should be probably promoted because I show you that I can be a great soldier. So for that reason, I think it could be a great thing. We'll see how these changes kind of play out. We'll see how everything kind of falls into place, how the testing goes, when this actually becomes effect, if there's going to be some changes here and there, potentially, right? Everything's been changing so much already that, it's pretty much expected that something in here is probably going to change and be shifted left or right or whatever. If you're someone that is trying to prepare for the Army or whatever, and you want to know what are some good ways to try to get into shape, I got a video right here that kind of helps explain that, kind of helps outline some things to do. If you haven't seen my latest upload, I got it right there. I also have links down in the description for the Discord channel, Twitter, I hardly ever use, Instagram, whatever. Check out the links down in the description. I'm Christopher Chaos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.